So, someone could start, if you were in charge of the world, what is the first thing you would change about education?
I don't know how to implement this, but I would like to implement some sort of policy that stops kids from placing their idea of their self-worth on their college that they go to or that they get into. And same thing with their grades. Your self-worth is not defined by your grades, and people forget that, and I think we should change that.
I want to add on to Mindy's idea on self-worth and what it should be based off of. I think there should be more emphasis on extracurriculars that kids participate in and, like, how you are as a person more than just your grades.
I'm not sure how we would accomplish it, but I think that we have to adjust, like, somehow our standards for kids and also placing more emphasis on improvement rather than just achievement. And what I meant by adjusting our standards is someone can be getting straight B's and the school can say, oh, that's great, like, you're doing pretty well, like, that's above average. But for that student, maybe they're doing nothing and we're not helping them be better.
I mean, I feel like as AP students, we think that we're more inclined to think that our self-worth is determined, like, based on, like, the acceptance rate of the college that we get accepted to or anything like that. And I feel like what I personally would change, I feel like I would change, I feel like this is really radical, but whatever. I honestly would get rid of just course requirements in general. I feel like we should let students explore what they want to explore. And I feel like I had an interview with Miss Wicks yesterday for this video project I'm doing, and she said that we don't really cater to the differences in students, and I feel like we should let students be extraordinary and let them be unique and let them be original, because we're putting them in these boxes, and like I feel like this school is very like results in the school being very cookie cutter. So I just feel like we should cater to those differences.
But do you think that we should wait to do that, like, until high school, because that way students are exposed to a variety of subjects? Or
I'm not sure if I would wait. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could do that in middle school too, and elementary school as well. But I feel like in high school, that's when you're really figuring out, like, who you are, and, like, I'm going through the experiences that will, like, affect you later in life, that'll, like, kind of build your character. So I feel like, yeah, I would probably wait until high school for the whole, like, do whatever you want thing, like, explore the classes that you want thing, so you prepared, so you know what you want to do in college. So I feel like a lot of us, we're just kind of like, we go into college with this, like, okay, well, I'm going to be this major. I'm not really sure, like, if I like it, because I haven't been able to take the courses that are, like, that pertain to that field. So
going off that, it's, like, sort of the different experiences. Like, I saw that, I don't know if it's really my original thought, but I saw this quote. It's, like, something along the lines of, like, people who are into, like, science and math and, like, all the STEM programs, like, and if they're good at those things and they excel, they're considered, like, really smart and intellectual, and that they can achieve things. But then the people who are into, like, art and music and stuff like that, like, that takes a lot of skill too. Like, not everybody has, like, a musical aspect to their personality or whatever that they can do, and, like, they're not given as much credit, and, like, that's seen as more like a hobby, but like, there's actually, like, theory behind it and, like, skill. So I don't know, just something.
You guys, getting back to the self-esteem with school, who do you think makes you feel, where does that pressure come that grades make you feel good, or the colleges is that something that you think comes from the school? Does it come from your friends? Does it come from your home? Where do you think that comes from?
Friends.
Yeah, I think it's just
society.
Competitiveness between, like, it's just, like, innate, you know? Like, you're like, oh, my friend Stacy got a better grade than me, but I think I deserved a better grade, and I wanna beat Stacy because I wanna be like, ha, look at me. I'm number one, you know? I think it's just kind of inside of everyone, or most people, to have that kind of competitive nature, and then it's just evolved with the college process becoming a lot more competitive in itself, onto that whole new kind of insecurity.
I think I want to disagree, actually. I feel like it can come from your friends and family based on the atmosphere that you're raised in, but I feel like, personally, I feel like a lot of the pressure that I put on myself in some things comes from myself. Like, my parents said that they would be happy with wherever I went to school, just because that's, like, going a step farther in life. So I feel like a lot of the pressure, like, yeah, your friends might create a competitive atmosphere for you, that you want to, like, excel. Like, maybe I want to, like, run as fast as Nick, and that might be a competitive atmosphere. But I feel like the pressure that you put on yourself because of the competitive atmosphere, like, in the end, the pressure boils down to, like, your parents can say so many things, and if you don't choose to listen to it, then there might not be pressure on you from that. Like, they're just saying things, and if it's not going to impact you, then you're not going to change what you're doing.
But, like, would you agree that if you were the only one in the United States being educated, don't you feel like you would have a lot less pressure on yourselves to do better because you wouldn't be comparing yourself to other people constantly? Like, if you take out all the competition of your peers.
I don't feel like we should compare ourselves to other people. We should just see our own progress. Like,
but that's like...
You don't need to have straight A's to get into a good school. Like, you don't need to... Like, Bill Gates, like... There's been plenty of people, like, Bill Gates went to school extra, like, at night so that he could learn, but, like, Steve Jobs went to college and he would just sit in on classes that, like, once he was not registered as a student, like, he would just sit on what interested him. Like, he didn't feel the pressure of the atmosphere, like, around him. Like, he just put pressure on himself to be good.
I think that takes, like, a certain personality to, like, grow up in an environment where all those pressure... Like, I have not grown up in an environment where, like, grades are everything and you need to get A's and sometimes, like, I would get C's and, like, that wasn't necessarily acceptable, but it wasn't, like, exactly, like, it wasn't horrible. But, like, I think it's just the atmosphere that you grow up in, like, and it's hard if you're constantly being told, like, you need to get A's, you need to get into this college since you're, like, in 6th grade. Like, I don't think anybody with, like, the most self-esteem, like, starting off can, like, just ignore that. And
it was a concern of yours, Mindy. You're the one who said you'd want to change it. Where do you think that pressure comes from?
I don't know. It probably differs for each person. For me, I think it comes from my family and this school. Like, with the family part, it's like this one time, I think it only happened for 2 quarters because my mom was losing too much money, but she gave me $5 for every A on my report card. And looking back, probably wasn't a good idea to instill those kind of values in me when I was like 12 or something. So that's not something encouraged.
How does the school put pressure on you?
I don't know. Not the school as an entity, but the teachers probably do.
Could you just give me, like, an example so I can understand how that occurs?
Okay, so one time I was in 6th grade, and I got a D on a math test, and then on the following math test I got an E, and the teacher yelled at me and asked me what was going on with my life.
Okay.
I mean, when I think of that, I think of, like, you know how we have the, like, the handbook assemblies at, like, the beginning of the year? Like, I mean, I remember when we had Miss Stanley and she showed us, like, the coloring book, and, like, half of it, like, I don't really understand how she does it, but I don't know. So, I know that she's just like, well, if you, like, delve into, like, extracurricular activities and, like, take a bunch of AP classes, like, your life will be colorful and amazing, but if you don't do that kind of stuff, like, your life is going to be really dull. So, like, if you don't, take AP classes, and if you don't do well in school, like, your life is just going to be really dull and awful. And it's like, what? Like, I don't understand why, like, you can't take, why you can't take, like, honors classes and your life could be just as colorful. Like, why does it have to be that way?
I don't think that's exactly what she was saying, though. I feel like what she was saying is that the school offers you a lot of opportunities, right? Like, there are clubs and sports and all that stuff, besides AP classes for you to just be involved in. I think what she was saying was, like, you should be more involved in your school and make an investment in it, and that way you can get a lot out of it. I mean, like, I don't really think she was really pushing AP classes. I feel like maybe that was maybe, like, what you thought because, like, of maybe what your parents think or maybe teachers or friends, because there is a lot of emphasis on AP, but school does offer, like, a lot more things besides AP classes. But do you think that administration pushes AP and that creates pressure?
Not really. Like, I don't know. I think it's
felt
more
really that much pressure.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it's more the students. Like, I remember, like, being a freshman and my captains on the cross-country team were taking all APs, and the captains on the cross-country and APs get 5s and 4s on the APs, and it's just like, how could you ever do that? And then I would even look at people who were taking 1 AP, and you just, like, I looked at them, like, so much older and so much, like, more intellectual, and then this year, like, I started off the year taking 3, now I'm taking 2. But, like, I don't look at myself as, like, an excellent, or outstanding, I should say, like, student, not like in my grades, but like I forget sometimes that I am taking APs, but it's just so like I don't know, the perspectives are different, I guess, because it's so like Dulaney High School is so saturated with APs.
I think it's because it's like so easy for you to compare yourself to the next person. I feel like when you take X amount of APs, but your friend Bill is taking, let's say, a couple more, then it makes you feel like Bill's smarter than you because he's taking more APs than you. Bill's going to get into a better college than you, and Bill's going to have a better job than you. Because that's kind of what everyone stresses in today's culture. They're like, oh, well, high school's important because it's the same cycle. High school, college, job, money. Like, it's just a big cycle. So that's what I'm going back to the competitive thing again, where you think you need to take all these APs to keep up with the competition because you look at everyone else. And then with what Lily's saying, where you put pressure on yourself, this pressure on ourselves comes from, for me personally, from like being insecure about where other people are and if I'm not going to succeed because I'm like falling below average.
Taylor, I want to go to you for a second. Do you think if you took no AP classes this year, this school would have allowed that without like saying something? So you came to your guidance counselor after your junior year and said, I'm taking EPI, I'm going to take an art class, I'm going to take all honors classes.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think there would have been pressure to get you into AP classes?
Well, I mean, wait, who was doing my scheduling last year? Miss Beckman? She probably would have, like, made some comments about it. She probably would have said, like, oh, you should do better. But, I mean, she would have a point because I'm capable of taking AP classes and I should be trying to push myself, Like, I feel like part of the push they have is justified because there are students that are of that caliber, like they have the potential to do AP classes and therefore they should do it. But, I mean, like, I guess there's like a fine line, like there's, like at one point it just becomes too much. So, I mean, like, I guess students should be pushed, like Mr. Shanathan said. But, I mean, I guess it's just like different levels for different people.
I don't know. I mean, it takes me back to something that like Mindy said to me freshman year. Like, we were on the bus together, and she told me that like everyone is gifted and talented, and it comes down to being able to apply yourself. So, and I feel like, and she said that like a lot of people don't, like tons of people don't see the reward in taking classes that are like GTAP, and that's why they don't do it. But I feel like, like going back to what I said before, I feel like you can push yourself and learn a lot in honors classes as well. I don't feel as though you have to be taking GTAP to be, a good student.
I agree with applying yourself. I think in life it's what you make out of the situation. So you might not go to like Harvard or Yale, but if you go to a school and you like try and get a good internship and then are able to network yourself well, like you're still going to find a job if you're able to do those things. And I feel like AP, like, yeah, it might look good on a transcript or like maybe you really did want to take that class, but I feel like at the end of the day, like, if you at least learn something for your own personal use, like, that's what counted. And I feel like we shouldn't let ourselves be defined by, like, our grades. Like, whatever you make out of the situation in the end is, like, just part of who you are. It's not going to change, like, how much your friends or parents love you, even though it might seem that way.
I mean, I definitely don't think we should be defined by our grades, but I definitely think there is a difference between honors classes and AP classes. I definitely think if you're in AP classes, there's going to be more opportunities for you, and you're going to be able to go in more in depth into topics, and you're going to be able to study it more, and it's going to be a lot more comprehensive than an honors class, and there's going to be a lot more work, a lot more expected of you. And I'm not saying that students in AP classes are smarter than students in honors classes or they work harder. I'm just saying that there is going to be a different experience, and there is a difference between taking the two classes.
I don't think that AP versus honors necessarily distinguishes like what makes a class challenging or not. Like, I definitely think that anatomy or classes like that are harder than, let's say, AP Psych or one of like an easier AP.
Enviro.
Yeah, what are you even doing in that class?
I mean,
like,
yeah, there are certain
No.
classes where, like, there are certain, like, classes that the school offers that are, really good even if they're not AP, but at the same time, if I had taken, like, honors English or honors math, I probably wouldn't have gotten, like, the same type of experience.
I mean, I definitely agree with that. Like,
I mean, there are, like, different cases for each class.
But is that, I think part of it is because all of you take AP. So, like, if this group, say, was in an honors class, I think you could have a really powerful honors class that could get the deep discussions that you're talking about. It's that the AP class sucks up so many people, you know, that the honors. But I want to ask you.
That goes in two different directions, though, too. Because couldn't you move more people into AP? So it's like, or you could move more people down to honors. So it could go like two different directions.
Yeah, and we've decided to pull more people up, right?
Yeah. But I think that sometimes that brings down the class in certain APs. Like in US, there are some people who were really struggling with even like understanding what our book was about, or if we read like primary source documents, some people would read them and understand them right away, and some people would have no idea what the document was about. And I guess for that class, like I did pretty well, and it like came pretty easily to me. So I saw how, like, I guess we were kind of slowed down by the people who maybe shouldn't have been in an AP but were pushed to be. But I think that's also because there isn't like a, you know, if they were in an honors class, they probably would have been bored there.
The gap is too big.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? The gap between AP and honors is so big.
Yeah.
Honestly, do you think it would be more beneficial for the student from honors to be pulled up, or more beneficial for the student from the AP to be pulled down?
I don't think, I think it depends on the person, number one, and number two, it's just the gap is just so big, because then they wouldn't be challenged if they went to honors. Like, I did honors, and I know I could have done AP, but I'm just I honestly don't know why I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. But that class was horrible. Like, I was actually interested in it, and nobody in that class cared. We couldn't have a discussion, and I'm like, these people are smart, but they're not taking it seriously. So it was just annoying, and I don't know.
Where does the gap start, though? I guess that's my question.
I think the gap starts in self-value and, your own dedication to what you want to accomplish. I feel like the environment that you grow up in is obviously an influence. If you have parents that support you and, want you to set goals for yourself, that's obviously going to influence how you act in school and, how much you want to get out of your work. But I feel like that carries into school, because if you have a parent that that's not also invested with you in your education and, where your life is going, then you could take a honors or standard class and just sit there, and nobody cares that you're just sitting there because you're just at a desk. As long as you're not disrupting anyone that's there, then it's not really impacting anyone besides yourself.
I feel like a lot of it is because we start students on different tracks, basically since first grade.
Yeah. Third grade for me.
Green and blue.
I mean, even in first grade, they didn't have GT, obviously, but they had the
Sparks.
They had this group of people who were better at reading, and then they had the other kids who couldn't read at all, and they separated us. And then kind of since then, at least for me, I've always been on the same track. I've always been in GT and then eventually in high school AP, because it was just the logical next step. And I feel a lot of people are kind of just told, oh, you're a standard/honors student, so you just kind of stay there.
Do you think the teachers are affected that way? I sit in front of an honors class, and immediately my expectations as a teacher go down, instead of, let's just say, Samantha's in an honors class and an AP class. In an AP class, I treat her like here, and I expect her to do here. In an honors class, she's the same human being, but I might treat it So do you think it's a teacher problem, too, in that respect, that teachers lower their expectations too much, and that's how that big gap occurs?
Yeah, I mean, I feel whenever I was in 9th grade, one of my teachers, I remember when we were, she was telling us to take notes and basically just think intellectually about things. And she said, she goes, if you want to be spoon-fed, go to the honors class. And so I feel there's definitely that, difference between, expectations between honors and GTAP students.
I agree. There is this teacher who doesn't teach here anymore, but she was talking to me about her hybrid honors and standard class. And she said that with the honors kids, she tells them to read a couple pages, and then they will. And then she goes to the standard class and tells them to read the same pages, except with them, she has to tell them to turn each page when they're done reading it. And that was a huge shock to me, because obviously it's a joke, but the fact that she thinks so little of them.
And that gets that self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Yeah.
If I think you're stupid.
They're stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
Sad.
I don't think teachers start out with that mindset whenever they first start teaching, but it's they see the patterns and they see the type of kids who are in those classes, and not necessarily all those kids are the stereotypical standard or even honors if they have a stereotype, but it's just a vast generalization, and you just naturally lower your standards, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it can also depend on the culture of the teacher. Like, one of my teachers I had freshman and part of sophomore year was from another country, and she thought that I was, like, 100% Asian, and once she found out that I was part white, like, her expectations of me, even though I did the same amount of work, if not more than most of the actual Asian students in the class, like, her expectations of me went down a lot, and, like, I felt like a lot of days she was putting me down because I wasn't Asian, so why would my parents have spoken Chinese?
Yeah, well, she was kind of racist, so...
Yeah, she was kind of.
And
she was
Chinese
a very
class,
special
so
case.
Yeah.
That makes a difference.
I mean, that makes sense.
I remember being in
don't
10th
speak
grade,
English,
and this one teacher that we had, who doesn't teach here anymore, he would use, like, the same excuse every time we weren't up to par. He would say, well, you guys are GT students, and GT students are expected to do all this, so...
A lot of teachers
proactive
do that.
GT.
Yeah, proactive GTers is what he would always say, so it works in the way that it makes, if you're not in GT, it makes you feel like you're not worth as much, and then when you are in GT, it puts all this extra pressure on you, because you're given this title, oh, I'm a GTer, so I need to be proactive, and I can't slack off at all, and I need to just be go, go, go.
And then when we're told that by all our teachers, it carries on to when we're talking to people who aren't GT students, and then we probably think less of them
Yeah. Definitely.
subconsciously because it's been fed to us.
Yeah. It's kind of like the arrogance.
Because we've told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that also factors into, like, your first point about self-esteem and evaluating, like, equating how you do in school and your grades and, like, what level class you're in to your self-esteem. Because teachers, although, okay, it's not like teachers are directly saying it to their honors class, like, oh, you guys are stupid because you're in an honors class. But, like, a lot of the times, I've had teachers that are like, you guys are AP, and they treat us like we're so superior, and you start to, like, think, okay, I'm only treated this way because I'm doing well, or, like, this is what people expect of me, and I feel like a lot of times the reason people have so much stress is because you have the stress to, like, meet expectations. So.
Do you think teachers like you based on your academic performance? Like, if you're an A student, more teachers will like you than if you're a C student.
I had one teacher who, on a couple occasions where I had my report card, I'd got my report card that day, and a specific occasion I went to her after school asking her a question, I had my report card in my hand. She was like, oh, let me see your report card. Like, she wanted to see how I was doing in all my classes, because I guess that curiosity kind of carries over into what you're saying, where she wanted to kind of evaluate me as a student academically and then judge me from there.
I don't know. So I was in an honors class last year, and I was one of the people there were a few people in my class who could have taken GT and probably should have taken GT because we were in AP Math. And I don't know, I felt like our teacher immediately basically, like, knew that we were above the standard of that class and, like, taught us differently and treated us differently the whole year, and even made comments about, like, how, you know, we were the only students in the class who, like, handle learning the information and, I don't know, be mature enough and, like, motivated enough and intelligent enough to handle it while, you know, our classmates couldn't. And I feel like that was definitely, especially, it started in the beginning of the year when that teacher knew nothing about us other than, you know, kind of what math we were in, and therefore, like, what level of student we supposedly were. Even though, I mean, I speak for myself, there were, like, definitely students who tended to be, and who were more honors students, who were definitely better students than I was, and probably, like, could have done or did just as well as I did, you know, but they weren't treated that way. They had to, like, earn it, while I already had that kind of respect, I guess.
I feel like it kind of depends on the teacher, just like it would depend on a coach, like, how they feel about you. Like, I feel like even if you have a kid that's struggling, as long as they're putting in effort, like, you at least have to, like, kind of respect them for that. Like, if they're gonna try, like, you at least have to give them, like, the benefit of the doubt sometimes. But I feel like there's definitely some teachers that, if there's something, like, that seems more special about you, that they might, like, initially have a higher favor on you. Like, if you're someone's younger sibling and that sibling was, like, really incredible, like, obviously the teacher is gonna hope that you're that great of a, like, student as the sibling was.
Oh, Sarah's much better than her siblings. She has no pressure on that one.
Do you guys think that So you said that teachers should respect students who work hard. Do you think that teachers should also respect students who might not work as hard but are intelligent? Like, do you think intelligence is something that garners respect?
I think that's whenever the teacher has to challenge them or like just implement different things, because then the gap is bigger, I guess.
Can we define intelligence in this situation? Because I feel like it could go like on a basis of creativity or not.
I guess I would say like reading comprehension and
like a more innate ability for that subject.
Making connections faster.
I feel like there's well, Misha, what did you just say? Hold on.
Okay. So I'll give an example. Yeah, I said that.
Okay.
I'll give an example. Like in English. In English this year, I don't try very hard.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me just. In English, I don't try very hard, but like when we do discussions in class, like I contribute to that and stuff. And do you think that my teacher should respect me because I'm intelligent?
I don't know, because I feel like I remember this takes me back to something that Miss Marks said, and that was like there are so many different kinds of intelligence, so many different kinds of just smart that we can't define it or put a label on it. So
or test it.
Yeah. So I don't think we can define it.
But like a student who tests well because they have natural ability in that subject, but doesn't do homework that diligently or stuff like that. Is that respectable?
I feel like the teacher would catch on, and I think the teacher will recognize, like, oh yeah, the student is doing well, but he's not putting forth as much effort because he doesn't have to. And I think effort is what like teachers admire. Like even if like a student's getting like a C or D, if they come to the teacher and they say like I want to do better and I want to do X, Y, and Z to get a better grade, I think that's when the teacher like really starts to respect the student. Like and they have a relationship.
I don't think you can't force someone to do work. So like.
Yeah, it's not really a matter of respect, I think. It's more a matter of like getting that student to do work. I mean, I don't think most teacher-student relationships are about how much the teacher like admires the student for their innate ability. It's more about like if they pay attention in class, if they're like an easy student to work with.
But I think society, or at least in school, I feel like a lot of people take more pride in being intelligent and they are like, oh, I got away with getting an A on this test, not studying, and they think that that's so much better than someone who like worked really hard and got the same grade. And I mean, there was even this article from, I guess, like Princeton's newspaper, I can't remember what it was called, but it was talking about how a lot of students would lie about how much they were working, and they would say, oh, I didn't even study for this test, and then brag about, like, I got away with an A or a B or something, even though they really were working, but because people, you know, maybe are like, oh, well, you're so much more intelligent because you didn't have to work and you got that grade. And I think that's a huge problem.
I had a student like that who, after every quiz, would say, I didn't read. And then one time got into a huge argument with me about the answer. And I said, how do you know? And he said, because it was on this page. And I said, but Noah, you never oh, I just looked at the pictures that day. But I think that's part self-defense. Because then if I don't do well, I could say, I don't study and Sarah studies. But I'm really as smart as Sarah. I just don't study. And I think, though, you make a good point. And I think that's why, like, this research, like Angela Duckworth with grit, makes me realize that, and back to your thing, Mindy, that hard work tends to correlate more with success than natural talent.
I mean,
and so that we should be pushing kids, even who can coast and do well, because that we want them to be grittier and have more self-control, because that's better for all those things Sarah said, success, college, and money, and that's all we care about. But the thing that I think we miss is, I don't know, do we like you enough for just being good people? Like, you know, when I think of parents, what they talk about their kids, it's two things. My kid's either a genius or he's a great athlete, or she's a great athlete. I never hear a parent say, my kid's just a beautiful, lovely person. You know, like, and isn't that really, to me, that's what I want people to say about my own children. My children are great kids. That's what I'd like to hear, not that they are.
I think that the way that society perceives greatness, though, like, I feel like, I'm sure, like, somewhere out there there's a parent that's like, yeah, like, my kid's just, like, a genuinely, like, good kid. Like, they're just nice to people. Like, but I feel like other parents don't perceive that as greatness or success because parents want to hear like other parents want to hear how good your kid is at this or that. Like, you want to hear like, oh, my daughter's going to Princeton, or oh, like my son's going here from at school. So I feel like you might genuinely in your heart feel like, obviously you're going to love your kid no matter what they do, even if they screw up. But like, I feel like even if you think your kid's a great kid, you can't openly just like say that. Like, I feel like people want to hear certain things from people about their kids.
Yeah, and if you start bragging about your kid being, like, a good person, then it's gonna turn into, like, a competitive thing, and then it'll be like, oh, well, my kid is such a great person, look at how many friends she has, or something like that. Because, like, anytime you brag about something with your kids, I mean, it's possible to turn it into a competition between parents, you know?
And I feel like...
But Taylor, why aren't they scared about doing that about school and grades?
They do that.
I know, but...
Brag about it.
But I feel like that's easier because that's a quantifiable thing. You can be like, my kid got straight A's.
Yeah.
You can't be like, my kid's nicer than you.
It's based off completely like opinion.
And parents probably could, like, compete with each other about how nice their kids are, except for just in, like, a really bad way. Like, look at how popular my kid is, you know?
If niceness
Stuff
got
like
you
that.
into college, then that's
Yeah, I feel like it's marketable skills.
It's just like another...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know, I was kind of waiting for someone to say this, but if you take John Locke's theory of the human mind as true, and most people do in our day, then saying your kid's a great person is kind of like bragging about your own parenting skills. Whereas a genius or a great athlete is more like their own natural ability or hard work.
It's a different way to look at things.
I mean, I feel like it still attributes, if you're like, oh, my kid's a great student, my kid's doing so well, I think it still attributes to the parents. Like, I did such a good job, look what I did, look at this. Like, yeah, they're like living vicariously through their kids and through their kids' successes, you know?
But when they say genius, that means, like...
I mean, they still want to take a little credit for that.
Yeah, there's something credit for that.
It's those genes of mine that got you to be a genius. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So, all right, because we've taken about a half hour, and I'll just wrap it up. And I'd like to do it again if you guys had a good time. And we'll let Andrew do his thing, and then I'll send it out, and everyone can see it. And then if it's okay with you, I don't know, I'll probably put it online, like on YouTube or something. And we'll see. Okay? Well, thanks. Thank you.
I want to add on to Mindy.
Mr. Lopez, please call the front office.
I don't really know how we would...
Alexis Mejia, please come to the office. Alexis Mejia.
That means that Bill must be smarter than me, and Bill's gonna get into better colleges than me, and Bill's gonna have a better job than me, and Bill's gonna make more money than me.
The sponsor of the Indian Club, please call the front office.
I'll just
The
start
sponsor for the Indian Club,
No, we had it.
please call the front office.
Michelle joined.
They eat curry. Making connections faster with certain things.
Gigi and Knobloch, please come to the front office. Gigi and Knobloch.
I think they're giving her an award.